So McFeely, one of the writers of Avengers Endgame, Infinity War, and various other Marvel Studios films, directly now talks about the inclusion of the TV characters, specifically the Netflix characters, and why the choice was made early on in his scripts to not include these characters when they actually thought about including them. So before we get into the logistics, you guys know that Netflix will sue Disney, more or less, if they don't, abide by the rules. When these shows were on air, Disney could have went to Netflix and offered them money and been like, hey, we're going to use these characters in the movie, and everything would have been fine. The show started getting canceled, and then new contracts and stipulations kick in. So McFeely was actually directly talking about the involvement of these characters in Endgame, and specifically the logistics of using them. And as we know, at one point they were considering using these characters, but essentially when they started writing Endgame and when they got to that 5-year time jump and the snap and bringing them back, this is where things got a little out of hand. And specifically they looked at the ending where all the characters line up and they're doing that final battle. This is where the characters could have appeared, and he says while that would have been kind of cool, it created logistical problems. So kind of to explain it simply, and he says what I've been echoing for a long time. In the films, you can assume that a lot of people have seen Doctor Strange, and some of those people have also seen Ant-Man, and they kind of know. And it's simpler because Ant-Man's appeared in some of the other movies, so you can kind of get that idea. Even if they didn't watch a standalone, they might have seen Civil War, for example, right? So you kind of have an easier in for this. When it came to the TV side of it, the subscription numbers, you don't know. You don't know how many people that are watching Infinity War have seen this other movie. So when it came to this giant fight, you would have to logistically then cut away to these characters who some audiences might have never seen before, like a girl with a whiskey bottle, having her just standing there throwing a type of attitude, right? That doesn't make sense. So then you would have to assume that these characters, some of them might have been snapped away, some not, and it created logistical time problems with the TV shows. So ultimately the decision was made not to include any of them besides one, because the opportunity was there. And the only TV character that was included was Jarvis from Agent Carter, because the timeline allowed for him to make the jump, because there wasn't any of that. And a lot of people already know that Jarvis was inspired by the Butler, so that made sense. So this is why that decision was made. Logistically, it would not have worked, and it would have raised more questions than answers for the TV side, and then that would have been brought over to the film side.